have a habit when I sleep. I practically have to mount my giant body pillow plushie, wrapping my legs tightly around it to fall asleep. But one night out of nowhere, I heard the inner thoughts of the hottest guy I've been crushing on. Fuck, don't squeeze so tight. Christ, I can barely breathe. I was so freaked out I accidentally gave the pillow a hard kick. Immediately a dark raspy muffled grunt vibrated right against my ear. I stared down at the plush sleeping doll in my hand, seriously doubting my own fucking sanity. I must be hallucinating. Why the hell would I hear Silas Sterling's voice? By crushing on him so hard that I was developing psychotic delusions? Creepy. Now I need to test the shit out. The plushie was a giant 5-foot-long fluffy cat. It was squishy, insanely soft, and just got delivered to my dorm 2 days ago. I absolutely loved how soft it felt. It was incredibly addictive to grow. But right then I showed no mercy. I made a fist and punched the plushie right in its squishy stomach. A split second later, Silas Sterling FaceTimed me. No warning, just his caller ID flashing on my screen. My eyes practically bulged out of my skull. It was 2 a.m. Why the fuck is he fast timing me? I only had his iMessage because of a random group project ages ago. But he had been sitting in my contacts collecting dust ever since. Shocked and highly suspicious, I hit accept. The screen lit up to reveal Silas's unfairly flawless, drop-dead gorgeous face. When I first transferred to Brampton University, I fell for him at first sight. Let's be real. I wanted to ride him just based on that face. But the guy was Brampton's notorious ice prince, untouchable. You could look, but you definitely couldn't touch. So I had to settle for a pathetic secret crush. I swallowed hard and asked the dumbest question possible. Is this Silas? Silas's eyes were red-rimmed, entirely missing their usual frosty glare. He looked flushed, almost like someone had just thoroughly bullied him into submission. His voice sounded weird as hell too. It was hoarse, tight and holding back what sounded like raw physical pain. He grunted. What are you doing? It is the middle of the fucking night. What else would I be doing? Sleeping? Obviously, I lied, keeping my face deadpan. Silas's jaw clenched tight. Looks like he wanted to say something, but silence fell between us. That was when it happened again. His lips didn't move an inch on the screen, but his voice echoed loud and clear directly into my mind. I can't let Clobier know. I am physically connected to her fucking plushie. If she finds out, she'll definitely stop wrapping those gorgeous legs around me at night. It took exactly 3 seconds for my brain to process this earth-shattering information. Silas Sterling was sharing sensory feedback with my giant stuffed cat, and I could hear his dirty little mind. Silas took a deep, jagged breath. His chest was heaving. Your body pillow is really cute, but maybe you shouldn't punch it so fucking hard it might get hurt. My fist was still buried deep in the plushie's belly, keeping the fabric completely caved in. I guess that must really ache, huh? Feeling a tiny bit guilty, I slowly pulled my hand back and began to gently, seductively stroke the cat's soft head. On the screen, a dark heavy flush crept up Silas's neck and stained his cheeks. Holy shit, the ice prince was actually blushing. I dragged my fingernails slowly down the plushie's body, tracing a line all the way to its tail. Silas' expression instantly worked. He looked like he was desperately trying to hold in a moan. The veins on his forehead visibly throbbed. Playing dumb, I asked, "Are you okay? You look like you are in pain." Silas curled his hands into tight fists. "I'm fine. Just a mosquito bit me." He said it with a totally straight face. But his thoughts told a completely different, wildly erratic story. Fuck, Clobier is touching me. God, it feels so good. I love it when she strokes me like that. Don't stop. Touch me more. Love it. I stared at him in pure shock. Who would have thought that the cold, arrogant campus god was actually a massive, actually frustrated simp behind closed doors? But what the hell was I supposed to do now? He was so fucking cute. I think I just fell for him even harder. A wicked sweet smile spread across my lips. I let my fingertips lightly graze the plushie, soft yielding body. Don't worry, I purred softly into the phone. I really love this plushie. I'm going to take real good care of it. Now that I knew Silas was physically feeling everything I did to that doll, there was no way in hell I was throwing it out. I continued to sleep with it shoved tightly between my thighs. It was a habit I'd had since childhood. Without something between my legs to hug, I simply couldn't sleep. The next morning I woke up incredibly refreshed. Lexi, my obnoxious but loyal roommate, practically dragged me out the door toward the campus food court. Hurry up, Chloe. If we're any later, the fresh breakfast sandwiches will be gone. The moment I stepped onto the path leading to the dining hall, a familiar deep voice vibrated in my head. When the fuck can I just openly call her my baby? I want to eat breakfast with her so bad. I stopped dead in my tracks. I scanned the courtyard until my eyes locked onto a tall, commanding figure standing by the corner. It was Silas, radiating his usual freezing, "Don't talk to me, aura." Sensing my gaze, his eyes darkened slightly. He gave me a stiff, painfully distant nod. My heart started racing. Lord, have mercy. How is he such a good actor? In public, he is the untouchable academic god. In private, he is a whiny, dependent golden retriever begging for my touch. The contrast was fucking intoxicating. I suppressed my pounding heart, forced myself to look away after one brief glance, and hurriedly walked off with Lexi. Instantly, his pathetic, dramatic inner whining filled my head. She left. Fuck. She really won't give me a second glance. She number. Fuck that I am eating with my girl today. I couldn't help the wicked smirk that crept onto my face. Why are we eating at the main food court today? A loud frat bro voice boomed nearby. Then that sexy deep baritone replied chillingly. The air is better here. We could grab a window seat then. Excuse me, is anyone sitting here? I slowly looked up from my tray across the table. Lexi was practically having a stroke, violently wiggling her eyebrows at me. She knew I had a massive thing for Silas. Thrilled by the chance to set me up with the campus god, Lexi answered faster than I could open my mouth. No, sit. Sit right next to Chloe. Silas looked down at me, his eyes full of fake light. Inquiry. Do you mind? Chloe. Wow, so formal. I wonder who was panting and calling me his Chloe bear. Hundreds of times last night, while trapped under my thigh, gasping it, whining it, groaning it. Was hot as fuck. I mirrored his cold energy, gave a stiff nod and hummed a flat shore. Right on cue, his devastated inner voice wailed. Why is she acting so cold to me? Did I do something wrong? Is my outfit shit? Silas and his roommate Brody set their trays down. Silas's mood visibly plummeted. His cold aura turned into actual daggers shooting in every direction. Brody, sensing his buddy's murderous mood, took a bite of his bagel. What is up with you, bro? You sick or something? Before Silas could tell him to shut the fuck up, Brody sold him out. I told you, man. You can't be taking 6 freezing cold showers a night. I don't care how athletic you are. Your body can't handle that kind of abuse. Lexi gasped, her eyes wide. Brody shrugged. He is a massive neat freak. A neat freak, huh? I blinked, keeping my face the picture of innocence. Silas shot me a desperate heavy look. God. She looks so fucking cute when she smiles. I am not a neat freak. Brody is just a fucking idiot. If my girl wasn't grinding her gorgeous body against me all night, I wouldn't have had to take 6 cold showers to freeze my heart on. This is absolute excruciating torture. But I love it. 6 times. A raging heart on my core tightened. I shot him another quick glance through my lashes. Fuck yes. She looked at me again. Coming here was the best decision I ever made. Please let her look at me tomorrow too. For the next few days, I magically ran into Silas in the dining hall every single day. During the day, we were nothing more than distant classmates sharing a table. But at night, we were practically sleeping together in the most twisted, cybersensory way possible. I wasn't entirely sure how the telepathy and sensory link worked, but Silas was rapidly infiltrating every corner of my life, and it planted some dirty, forbidden ideas in my head. Maybe I could push the envelope a bit further. Every night I fell asleep listening to his inner monologue. Sometimes the sudden, low groans he let out when I shifted my legs would make my whole face burn red. The high and mighty Ice Prince was a total degenerate in bed. It was so hot. I took a bite of my sandwich, peeking at Silas sitting across from me. His flawlessly sculpted face was flushed with a healthy glow. The corners of his mouth were actually curled upward. He didn't look cold at all. He looked like he was basking in the afterglow. As we sat there, the sexual tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife. Neither of us said a word, just letting the heavy unspoken lust hang in the air. Are these seats taken? A slender, gorgeous girl with an incredibly smug face walked over with her tray. Silas's face instantly went back to ice. Yes. The girl looked around and laughed. By who? They're coming. Silas furrowed his brows, looking thoroughly pissed off. The girl tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her smile sugary and fake. Well, they aren't here right now, so I'll just sit. Silas. It has been so long. Silas completely ignored her. Instead, using his chopsticks, he picked up a piece of shrimp and placed it directly onto my plate. Try this. My lips curved into a smirk. The annoyance I felt from the interruption vanished instantly. Vanna Kensington didn't even flinch at being ignored. She was used to being an entitled brat. It is fine if you ignore me, Silas. Your grandpa is having us over for dinner tonight anyway. You're coming, right? She shot me a highly venomous, triumphant glare. Silas still didn't give her the time of day, continuing to feed me pieces of meat. Savannah looked like she was about to crack her own teeth from grinding them so hard. After lunch, Savannah decided to corner me near the exit. Our families are old money. We literally run this city. Alice and I are getting married. It is arranged. My good mood shattered. I let out a cold laugh, my tone dripping with absolute disregard. And am I supposed to give a fuck? Savannah sneered. He is just fucking around with you. When it comes time to put a ring on it, it is gonna be me. Oh, what a coincidence, I deadpan. Oh, what a coincidence, I deadpan, leaning in just a fraction to let the pure, unadulterated mockery seep into my voice. I'm just fucking around with him too. I don't give a shit who he marries. I'm just here to ride him until I get bored. Enjoy the sloppy seconds, Savannah. Savannah's mouth dropped open, her perfectly glossed lips parting in an ugly, unflattering shape. The smug superiority drained right out of her face, replaced by a blotchy, furious red. She looked like she wanted to slap me, scream, or maybe both. I didn't give her the chance. I flipped my hair over my shoulder and walked away, my sneakers squeaking against the polished floor of the dining hall lobby. I was barely 10 steps away when a voice practically shattered the inside of my skull. She's just fucking around? Ride me until she's bored? The telepathic voice sounded completely wrecked. It wasn't the horny, desperate whining from the night before. This was pure, unadulterated panic. No, fuck that. She can't be bored. I won't let her get bored. I'll do whatever she wants. I don't want to marry Savannah. I'd rather swallow broken glass. I have to cancel the dinner. I have to fuck. What do I do? How do I make Clobier stay? I faltered in my step, my heart doing a strange, guilty little flip. I glanced over my shoulder. Through the glass walls of the dining hall, I could see Silas. He had stopped halfway to the tray return. His knuckles were white, gripping the plastic edges, and he was staring at the floor like someone had just shot his dog. The untouchable Ice Prince of Brampton University, currently having a mental breakdown because he thought he was just a casual hookup to a girl he hadn't even officially kissed yet. A slow, wicked smile spread across my face. Oh, this man was entirely at my mercy. And Savannah thought she was the one putting a ring on it? Please. I owned him, and all I had to do was squeeze a giant stuffed cat. That night, Lexi was out at a frat party, leaving the dorm blissfully empty. I locked the door, changed into my smallest, silk sleep shorts and a tiny tank top, and eyed the 5-foot fluffy cat plushie lying innocently on my bed. Savannah's words from earlier still lingered in the back of my mind. Your grandpa is having us over for dinner tonight. It's arranged. I knew Silas hated her. I knew his internal monologue was screaming about how much he despised the arrangement. But the petty possessive part of me didn't care. He was at a fancy dinner with another girl who thought she laid claim to him. It was time to remind him exactly who pulled his strings. I checked the clock. 8:30 p.m. Right around the time dessert or main courses would be served at whatever pretentious country club they were eating at. I crawled onto my mattress and grabbed the giant plushie. I threw my leg over its middle, straddling it completely. The material was ridiculously soft, yielding perfectly to my weight. Instantly, the connection sparked to life. So if we look at the merger's long-term projections, grandfather, Silas's internal voice was broadcasting, sounding incredibly bored and formal. I leaned forward, pressing my chest flush against the plushie's head, and slowly, deliberately, ground my hips down into its squishy stomach. The corporate monologue in my head abruptly cut off. Fuck. The mental shout was so loud I actually winced, giggling into the dark room. What is she doing? Holy shit, what is she doing? We're at the dinner table. Savannah's dad is looking right at me. Silas, breathe. Breathe. Don't react. I didn't stop. I rolled my hips in a slow, agonizingly deliberate circle, squeezing my thighs tight around the plushie's midsection. I dragged my fingernails up the cat's fluffy back, right where a human spine would be, pressing hard enough to dig into the stuffing. Christ. Silas's mental voice was practically sobbing. Her thighs. I can feel her thighs squeezing me. God, she's so wet. Is she thinking about me? I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I can't sit here. I can't. Silas, dear, are you all right? I heard the faint, muffled sound of an older woman's voice filtering through the telepathic link. You're sweating. And your face is quite flushed. Don't groan. Do not groan, Silas coached himself, though his mental voice was trembling. Out loud, I heard him clear his throat, a rough, ragged sound. I'm fine, grandmother. Just a bit warm. It's probably the wine, Savannah's annoying, syrupy voice chimed in. Here, let me pour you some water. Savannah pouring him water? Absolutely not. I shifted my weight, leaning back and running my hands all the way down the plushie's body, stopping right at the base of its tail. I gripped the plush fabric firmly and gave it a slow, rhythmic stroke. Ah! The mental gasp was accompanied by the sound of shattering glass. Silas! Savannah shrieked. My apologies, Silas gasped out loud, his voice tight with barely suppressed agony. My glass slipped. Excuse me. I need to use the restroom. I heard the rapid, heavy thud of his footsteps, a door slamming, and the click of a lock. Once he was alone, his mind completely unspooled. Fuck. Chloe, baby, please. I'm going to ruin my pants in the bathroom of a country club. She's touching me. She's stroking me. God, it feels like her actual hands. I giggled, tracing circles on the plushie's stomach. You like that, Ice Prince? I whispered to the empty room, knowing full well he couldn't hear my words, only my actions. I need to leave, Silas thought frantically. I don't care about the merger. I don't care about my grandfather's temper. If Savannah looks at me one more time, I'm going to scream. I just want Clobier. I want her to do this to my actual body. I decided to show a tiny ounce of mercy. I stopped moving, wrapping my arms around the plushie and burying my face in its neck, settling in to cuddle it instead. She stopped, he noted. A wave of profound relief and immediate, devastating disappointment washing over his thoughts. She's hugging me now. She's holding me so tight. Fuck the dinner. I'm leaving. Wait. Leaving? I sat up, blinking in the dark. I don't care if I get disinherited. I have to see her. She said she was going to ride me until she was bored. I need her to do it right now. My eyes widened. I heard the bathroom door unlock, the hurried, frantic apologies to his grandfather, Savannah's offended squawking, and then the roar of a car engine roaring to life. Holy shit. He was actually coming here. I scrambled off the bed, suddenly acutely aware of how messy my dorm was. I shoved a pile of dirty laundry into the closet, kicked Lexi's shoes under her bed, and checked my reflection in the mirror. I looked exactly like a girl who had just been aggressively humping a stuffed animal. My hair was tousled, my cheeks were flushed, and my lips were slightly parted. I didn't have time to fix it. 20 minutes later, heavy, rapid footsteps echoed down the dorm hallway. Is she awake? What if her roommate is there? I don't care. I'll fight the roommate. A violent, desperate knock hammered against my door. I took a deep breath, trying to slow my racing heart, and unlocked the deadbolt. I pulled the door open. Silas Sterling stood in the hallway. He looked like a god who had just survived a hurricane. He was wearing a ridiculously expensive dark suit, but the tie was ripped off. His shirt was half unbuttoned, exposing a sharp collarbone, and his usually perfect, icy blonde hair was an absolute chaotic mess of desperate hand-raking. He was panting heavily, his chest heaving, his icy blue eyes completely blown out and dark with raw, unrestrained lust. For a second, we just stared at each other. The tension in the hallway was so thick it was practically suffocating. Hi, I breathed, trying to sound casual, though my voice betrayed a slight tremor. You know, he said. His voice was a low, gravelly rasp that sent a shiver straight down to my toes. I played dumb, leaning against the doorframe. Know what? Silas stepped forward, crowding into my personal space. His sheer size was overwhelming, a tidal wave of cedar, expensive cologne, and pure male desperation. He backed me into the room, kicking the door shut behind him with a loud click. Don't play with me, Chloe, he warned, his eyes dropping to the thin silk of my sleep shorts, then back up to my face. You know exactly what you do to me. You know about the connection. She looks so fucking beautiful. I want to devour her. If she rejects me, I'm going to actually die right here on this cheap linoleum floor. Hearing his desperate inner thoughts while he stood in front of me trying to look intimidating was the most intoxicating power trip of my life. I tilted my head, a slow smirk forming. I have no idea what you're talking about, Silas. I was just taking a nap with my favorite plushie. I gestured to the giant cat on the bed. Silas's gaze snapped to the plushie. His jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. You were grinding on it, he accused, stepping closer until his chest brushed mine. The heat radiating off his body was insane. You were stroking it, while I was sitting at a dinner table with my grandfather. Oops, I whispered, not sounding sorry at all. You did it on purpose, he groaned, his hands coming up to hover just inches from my waist, like he was terrified he'd shatter me if he touched me without permission. Because of Savannah. Because she told you about the dinner. Maybe, I challenged, looking up into his eyes. And what if I did? You're going to marry her anyway, right? Your families run this city. Fuck Savannah, Silas snarled. The Ice Prince persona completely incinerated by the absolute inferno of his obsession. He closed the distance, his large hands finally gripping my waist. His touch was electric, burning through the thin silk of my top. I'm not marrying her. I rejected the arrangement tonight. I walked out. My breath hitched. You walked out? Yes, he said, his thumbs tracing the bare skin of my waist. Because I can't think about anyone but you. Because I spend 6 hours a night in a freezing shower. Because you like to wrap your gorgeous legs around a stuffed animal. Because when you told her you were just going to ride me until you were bored, I didn't care about the insult. I only cared about the fact that you wanted to ride me. Tell her you love her, you coward, his inner voice screamed at him. Tell her you're a pathetic simp for her. Tell her she owns you. You're a massive simp, Silas Sterling, I whispered, unable to keep the affection out of my voice. His eyes widened in shock. Did you just hear me think that? Loud and clear, I confirmed, reaching up to run my fingers through his messy hair. I've heard everything. Every single dirty, pathetic, desperate thought you've had since I punched that cat in the stomach. A dark, heavy flush crept over Silas's face, turning the tips of his ears bright red. The realization that I had known everything, every embarrassing groan, every internal beg, every shower, hit him like a freight train. He let out a shaky breath and dropped his forehead to rest against mine. I have no dignity left. None at all. I agreed, smiling against his lips. Good, he murmured, his hands sliding down to grip the back of my thighs. I don't need it. In one fluid motion, he lifted me off the ground. I gasped, wrapping my legs around his waist instinctively. The exact same way I held the plushie. A ragged, animalistic groan tore from Silas's throat. Holy fucking shit. It's 1,000 times better than the plushie. She's actually touching me. I'm going to lose control in 10 seconds. Don't you dare finish in 10 seconds, I commanded, laughing as he carried me toward the bed. He dumped me onto the mattress, right next to the giant fluffy cat. Silas glared at the plushie with pure, unfiltered hatred, grabbed it by the scruff of its neck, and threw it aggressively across the room. It landed in the corner with a soft thud. Hey, I protested weakly. That's my sleeping aid. Silas crawled over me, trapping me beneath his massive frame. His icy blue eyes were burning with possessive fire. You don't need that fucking cat anymore. You have me. Mount me. Squeeze me. Do whatever the hell you want to me, Chloe. Just don't ever get bored. I'll think about it, I teased, trailing my fingernails lightly down his chest, feeling the hard muscle jump beneath his dress shirt. I'm serious, he rasped, capturing my wrists and pinning them above my head, his mouth hovering over mine. I am entirely yours. Do you hear me? You own me. I love you. I love you. I love you, his mind chanted like a prayer. I couldn't tease him anymore. The absolute vulnerability radiating from him, both physically and telepathically, shattered my defenses. Show me, I whispered, pulling his mouth down to mine. The kiss was an explosion. It was messy, starving, and aggressive. Silas devoured my mouth like he had been dying of thirst in the desert for years. He tasted like expensive red wine and pure adrenaline. When his hands slid under my tank top, a new wave of sensory overload hit me. Because of the telepathic link, I wasn't just feeling his hands on my skin. I was feeling his sensation of touching my skin. I could feel the softness of my own waist through his fingertips. It was a dizzying, infinite loop of pleasure. Silas. I gasped as his mouth trailed down my jaw to my neck, biting lightly at my pulse point. She tastes so sweet. I want to mark her. I want everyone on this fucking campus to know she belongs to me. He left a bruise right on my collarbone, a blatant, territorial claim. I didn't stop him. I tangled my hands in his hair, pulling him closer, letting the sheer weight of him ground me. We didn't make it to sleep for a very, very long time. Every touch, every movement was amplified by the link. Whenever I arched my back, I felt his internal shockwave of pleasure. Whenever he kissed me, I felt his overwhelming sense of worship. By the time we finally collapsed, tangled in my cheap dorm sheets, dawn was threatening to break through the blinds. Silas was holding me so tightly against his chest I could barely breathe, but for once I didn't mind. My leg was thrown over his waist, securely anchored. Better than the cat? He mumbled sleepily into my hair, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my bare back. Much better, I yawned. You run a lot warmer. I'm never letting her go, his mind echoed softly, the frantic edge completely gone, replaced by a deep, profound peace. She's mine. The next morning, the Brampton University dining hall experienced a seismic event. Lexi and I usually walked in together, but today, she was walking 10 paces behind me, her jaw practically scraping the floor. Because I wasn't walking in alone. Silas Sterling had his arm wrapped firmly around my waist, his fingers digging possessively into my hip. He was wearing one of his expensive cashmere sweaters, but his usual ice prince aura was entirely absent. He was looking down at me, listening to me complain about my morning lecture, with a soft, indulgent smile on his flawless face. The cafeteria went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Brody, sitting at their usual table, choked on his orange juice, spraying it across his tray. And then there was Savannah. She was sitting with her clique, holding a cup of artisan coffee. When she saw Silas walk in holding me, the girl she had insulted yesterday, the coffee cup slipped from her manicured fingers and shattered on the floor. Silas didn't even flinch at the sound. He didn't look at her. He guided me toward a window table, pulled out a chair for me, and went to grab our food. Savannah couldn't handle it. She practically marched over, her face a mask of furious, humiliated disbelief. Silas, she demanded, ignoring me completely as he returned with our trays. What is this? You left dinner last night without a word. My father was furious. And now you're parading around with her? Silas set the trays down. He slowly turned to face Savannah. The soft, indulgent look he had for me vanished in a millisecond. The ice prince returned, colder and more terrifying than ever. Savannah, Silas said, his voice dropping the temperature in the room by 10 degrees. Let me make this perfectly clear, because you seem to be struggling with reality. The arranged dinner was a courtesy to my grandfather. It is over. There is no arrangement. There is no marriage. Savannah flushed, tears of embarrassment welling in her eyes. You're ruining our family's ties for a charity case? Silas took a step toward her, his sheer presence forcing her to stumble backward. You will not speak to her, he commanded, his voice lethal. Low enough that only the surrounding tables could hear, but carrying absolute authority. You will not look at her. You will not mention her name. Chloe is not a phase. She is my girlfriend. And if you ever disrespect her again, I will personally ensure your father's hedge fund loses its biggest investor by tomorrow morning. Do we understand each other? Savannah let out a choked sob, turning on her heel and fleeing the dining hall, her friends scrambling after her like frightened pigeons. Silas watched her go, his jaw tight, before turning back to me. Instantly, his inner voice flooded my mind. Was that too much? Did I sound too aggressive? Fuck. I hope Chloe doesn't think I'm a psycho. I just wanted to protect her. God, I hope she liked it. I burst out laughing, unable to hold it in. Brody, who was hovering nearby, looked terrified. Dude, you okay? She just laughed at you. I'm fine, Brody, Silas sighed, though his cheeks were tinting pink. He sat down next to me, bumping his shoulder against mine. I thought it was very hot, I whispered, leaning in to kiss his cheek. Silas's eyes darkened, a small, triumphant smirk playing on his lips. Fuck yes, his mind cheered. Epilogue, 6 months later. Silas, I swear to God, if you throw him in the dumpster, we are breaking up. I stood in the doorway of Silas's off-campus apartment, my hands on my hips, glaring at my boyfriend. Silas was standing in the living room, holding the giant 5-foot fluffy cat plushie by its neck. He looked like he was contemplating a murder. Chloe, it's a health hazard, Silas argued smoothly, adjusting his glasses. It takes up half the bed. And you still hug it sometimes when I get up to get water. He is emotionally supportive, I defended, pointing at the plushie. I am emotionally supportive. Silas shot back, his inner voice whining loudly. I hate this fucking cat. She squeezed its paw yesterday while we were watching a movie and my hand cramped. It's unnatural. Yes, the telepathic link still existed. But it was only bound to the plushie. If I touched the cat, Silas felt it. Which meant I possessed the ultimate weapon in our relationship. Whenever he was being too stubborn, or trying to act too cool in front of his frat friends, all I had to do was give the cat's tail a little tug, and the ice prince would turn into a stuttering, desperate mess. Put him down, Silas, I warned, stepping into the room. Silas sighed heavily, tossing the plushie unceremoniously onto an armchair in the corner. Fine. But he sleeps in the chair. You sleep on me. Deal. I smiled, walking over and wrapping my arms around his waist. Silas immediately pulled me flush against his chest, burying his face in my hair, inhaling deeply. I love her so much it physically hurts. I don't care if she keeps 100 psychic plushies, as long as she stays with me. I'm not going anywhere, you massive simp, I murmured against his chest. Silas chuckled, the sound deep and rich, vibrating against my cheek. He kissed the top of my head, holding me tighter. I know, Clobier. I know.